All right. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. If you pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to call to order the regular town council meeting for the town of Hudson at 6 o'clock. Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Stadler. Here. Councilmember Nolf.
Here.
Councilmember Chavez.
Here.
Councilmember Hammack. Councilmember Warren.
Here.
Councilmember Biskins.
Here.
Mayor Hargis.
Here. Are there any additions to the agenda?
No, there are no additions to the agenda.
Okay. Point in our meeting for citizens' comments. Anybody wishing to address the council on anything that is not already set for the council to discuss may do so at this time. State your name and address and you'll have 3 minutes. Anybody wish to address the council? Doesn't look like it. So let the record show there's no citizens' comments at this time. Consent agenda. Are there any questions on the consent agenda? If so, let me know your questions. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda. I make a
I
motion.
second.
It's been moved and seconded. Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Nolf.
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez.
Yes.
Councilmember Warren.
Yes.
Councilmember Stadler.
Yes.
Councilmember Biskins.
Yes.
And Mayor Hargis.
Yes. Okay, presentation from the Rec and Events Committee, grant update, follow-up from Sophia Campbell and the Rec and Events Committee Coordinator. Yeah.
Hello all, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. So there were 2 main questions that I got from you guys when we talked 2 weeks ago. The 2 questions were, can we look into used and for vehicles, and have we talked to citizens? So for the talking to citizens stuff, I wasn't really involved in direct citizen contact. I mostly have been involved with talking to organizations. So I went to the rec committee and I talked to the main office, just like Kim and Heather and all them. And it turns out we do get calls for people asking for transportation help, especially for things like doctor's appointments, roughly a couple every single month is what we have going on right now. And we've been redirecting them to the booklet we got from Weld County Senior Services, which is the booklet that, as I mentioned, has a waiting list and is entirely understaffed. So that's the answer to the question there. And I know you guys also heard from Judy, is that there was just interest in, at the very least, from her group as well. And then for the used vehicles, I looked at a couple different ones. There's not a huge selection right now. There's not really a huge selection of vehicles in general right now due to having issues getting in parts, and prices are probably going to go up by the time we would actually be looking to purchase, which would be maybe in the spring or summer. But I did find one that was exactly like the one we were looking at before that was new. It's the same size. It's the same CDL requirement. Instead of being brand new, it's a 2012, but that one was $43,414. So less than half of a new vehicle.
You know how many miles were on it?
How many miles are on it? Let me take a look here. Can I share my screen?
Is she able to share? I don't know that we've made you a moderator, Sophia. We might not be able to share right off the bat.
Okay, let's.
Yep.
Tell me if that worked. Did that work?
Yep.
Yay. All right, I can show it to you. All right, so here we go. So this is the one that I found that was available right away from one of the people that we talked to previously about new vehicles, which was Davy Coach. 88,000 miles currently on it.
Okay.
But that would not be, this one in particular would not be available by the time we would go to purchase unless we were ignoring the community block grant and just going for it right now. So this is just mostly to give you a general idea of what the price kind of looks like for a used vehicle for the exact same type. But yeah, this definitely won't be still available when we get to spring, summer.
Yeah, it could be.
The dealer pretty much assured me that it definitely won't unless we were buying like tomorrow because they're so lacking in inventory and everything. I mean, I think Maria can speak to this a little bit too, but the vehicle people that I've talked to, they've got vehicles that were on order, like coming in 6 months late. The prices keep going up because there's such a shortage on parts coming from other countries.
Were you able to get an extension on your contact person maybe?
So that was going to be determined based on your guys' direction tonight. So if you guys want to see about getting an extension, like this is something you're interested in continuing to explore, then I will contact the grant administrator for the BNSF grant and make that happen. But if we were kind of scrapping the idea, then I was just going to return the check.
Now,
But yeah.
there was a deadline, you said like at the middle of January, so
I think
Does that-
next week or the end of this week?
Or was it? towards
It's
end of-
it's the 27th. So basically I would either need to get an extension before the 27th, or I would need to deposit the check or return the check by the 27th. If we get the extension on the before the 27th, then we've got another 120 days.
Are those extensions pretty easy to get? I mean, or is it
We
something?
don't know.
You don't,
It's-
you never for one?
It's really at the grant administrator's discretion. But we've got a decent relationship with BNSF and we've gotten grants from them before. They know us, so it shouldn't be too hard, but I can't make any promises on that. Basically, if you guys decided that the direction you want to go is that you just simply need more time, then the extension is what I would be pursuing.
What do you guys think? Personally, I think we go for the extension, but what does everybody else think?
I agree. That's Sarah.
Me too.
So it looks like
Absolutely.
Sophia, go for the extension.
Okay, so I will go for the extension on the BNSF grant. Should I continue to pursue the block grant in the meantime?
Oh, the block grant.
So the block grant would extend the timeline here, which makes the used vehicle timing and purchasing of the used vehicle that she showed.
Right.
That's what the real difference is. If you want to act now, then we can get the used vehicle if the used vehicle is what you're looking at. If you want to go for the grants and whatnot, we're probably going to be looking at a new vehicle or another used vehicle that may come available in the future at a date unknown. We're just not sure about that.
Now, does it have to be okay, so the 30,000, what you're saying, it has to double that for or is the 43, would that be sufficient for where we put the 13,000 in?
For the BNSF grant?
Yeah.
Sophia, is it a 50-50 match is the question?
So it is a 50-50 match on the BNSF grant, but that, like I was saying, could be the 50-50 match from the block grant funds. It doesn't have to be from the town's budget.
So we could do the fund match with a grant. We don't have to do it with town funds. And that's what she would do. She would leverage the BNSF grant with the CDBG grant to use the CDBG funds to help us with our portion of the match for that BNSF grant. Welcome to the grants world.
Yeah.
The term leverage is a fun word. Yeah.
So my personal thought is get the extension on BNSF, go for the block grant, and we'll take it from there.
Agreed.
All right, that is all the direction I needed. Thank you, guys.
Anybody else? Sarah, Maria, Daniel, do you have any other thoughts or suggestions?
No, I agree.
No, I appreciate moving forward.
Nope, I got nothing.
Okay. Then that is the way to go. Sophia, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Did you have anything else for us?
Nope, not that I can think of.
Okay, thank you. All right, 2A, Resolution 2205, resolution approving an easement agreement and accepting the grant of a public utility easement administrative update.
So this looks familiar because you've already adopted this, but the actual resolution cover sheet, the sheet that says resolution number 2205 and holds the mayor's signature, was inadvertently left out of the packet. We've placed it back in the packet with the full package that you approved as our administrative update so that it's complete. So that it also was available to the public so that they could all see it for the time period that we're required, and try to do that all the right way and bring it back to you as a full package. You don't have to do any readoption, but you can acknowledge that staff has administratively updated this resolution correctly. Does anybody have any questions? Okay.
So we don't have any motions. We're not approving anything. It's already been approved. It's just for administratives for signing.
All right. And if you don't have any objections to that, we can just move on to the next one. Okay.
Okay, 3B, liquor license hearing for Alma Market Corporation, DBA Carniceria La Mexicana.
I would like to show the record that I will recuse myself from this agenda.
Okay. I would like to open the public hearing regarding the application for liquor license for the Alma Market Corporation, DBA Carniceria La Mexicana at 6:12. Will the clerk state the purpose of the hearing?
A public hearing for the purpose of receiving comment on the application by Alma Market Corporation for a new retail fermented malt beverage off-premises liquor license for Alma Market Corporation, DBA Carniceria La Mexicana, located at 751 Main Street, Hudson, Colorado.
Was the notice of the hearing published in the local paper?
Yes, the hearing notice was published in the December 29th, 2021 edition of the Greeley Tribune.
Let the record show that the required public notification for tonight's public hearing has been met as stated. I'll first recognize the town clerk to give a presentation and respond to questions of the council members. I will then recognize the applicant and members of the audience who wish to speak to the council regarding the proposed liquor license.
Okay, so this liquor license is for an already existing business and restaurant. They are just looking to add a liquor license to their business. And I have also received a letter from another business in town that I can share for the record. Okay. So it was from the Pepper Pod Restaurant. It says, "Attention Board of Trustees. Dave and I would like to respectfully submit our full recommendation that the Board of Trustees for the Town of Hudson approve the liquor license for Carniceria La Mexicana. The Carniceria is well operated and is an asset to our town. They run a clean, well-organized business, treat their employees well, and should have every tool they need to attract customers and be profitable. A liquor license is one such tool in their arsenal, in our opinion. Sincerely, Dave and Beth Martin." And this business also is up to date with all of their business license and sales tax license within the town as well.
Okay. Anything else? No? Is there anyone representing the applicant who would like to make a presentation?
Yes, this is Christopher Carr on behalf of the applicant Alma Market. I'm the attorney representing them. I believe the applicant is also present in person.
Yes, we are here.
Is there anything you'd like to present to the council?
If we may, I'll have a brief presentation with some questions and answers from the applicant, if that's okay with the authority. I've only appeared in front of you guys once before, so I don't know exactly what your procedure is, but if that's okay with you, that's how we'd like to proceed.
Go ahead.
So I'd like to call Christian Rosales first.
I'm here.
Mr. Rosales, can you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Christian Rosales, last name is spelled Rosales.
And Mr. Rosales, how are you associated with the applicant?
She is my mother.
Okay, and the business, do you work there?
Yes, I do.
And how long have you worked there?
4 years.
Okay. Can you briefly explain for the authority what the business is?
So we are a local meat market. We sell Mexican products and also do food to go and grocery stuff like that. Not a big location, but a decent size. Great food.
And you're here today asking for a fermented malt beverage license, is that correct?
Yes, we would like to sell beer at our location.
And why are you asking for that license?
We have a lot of clients that come in and ask for beer. And I think it would be good for my mother to get the license so we can make a little bit more money for our location.
And if the license were to be granted, how many employees would be involved in the sale of alcohol?
We only have 3 clerks right now that work up front, but there's 5 total working. But there would only be 3 people up front, and they would be definitely educated on what they need to do for them to sell the beer.
That was going to be my next question. Are you going to make sure that all of them are trained?
Yes, definitely.
And will you yourself attend that training as well?
Yes, definitely.
And if this license were to be granted, are you going to have a policy as to who you're going to card or ID if they want to purchase alcohol?
Everybody.
And have you ever had a liquor license before?
No, we have not.
I have no further questions for Mr. Rosales and would open it up for the authority if there's any questions for Mr. Rosales.
Council have any questions? Nope, we don't have any questions.
We have no further presentation other than the letter that the authority has already taken under advisement. We believe that shows our need and desire as well as the application that's been filed in Mr. Rosales' testimony.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Is there any member of the public that wishes to address the town council on this matter? If so, state your name and address for the record. Let the record show that nobody is speaking up. There being no further presentations, I declare the public hearing closed. Do any of the council members have any remaining questions of the staff?
No.
Daniel?
No, I don't have any further.
Okay. Being no further discussion, I declare the public hearing closed at 6:18. So we don't have a resolution on here to approve it.
Madam Mayor, you can do so by motion, and then the staff can create the findings necessary based on the approval.
Sounds good. Thank you. If nobody has any other questions or objections, I would accept a motion.
I make a motion to approve liquor license for Alma Market Corporation, DBA Carniceria, Mexicana.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you for your time today.
Yes. You don't have to stay for the whole meeting.
Yep. You too. All right, 3C, Resolution 2207, a resolution approving a services agreement with KRW Associates for staff recruitment services.
So this is fulfilling kind of what the outcome of the last council meeting was regarding KRW's presentation. What's before you tonight is their actual contract for services for recruitment for town manager and police chief. And they're also online if you have any questions for them. And of course, I'm here for you if you have any questions for me.
Does anybody have any further questions for either Jen or KRW on the recruitment? Okay, then I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2207, a resolution approving services agreement with KRW Associates for staff recruitment services.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember, no. Councilmember Warren,
Yes.
Councilmember Sadler,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Councilmember Biskins,
Yes.
Mayor Hargis.
Yes. Motion carries. 3D, Resolution 2208, a resolution approving a services agreement with J. Ramos Associates LLC for facilitator services.
So this is very similar to the KRW proposal you heard, well, I should say you all discussed Ms. Ramos's contract and potential presentation of services at the last meeting. This is actually the contract and agreement for services detailing what she'll be doing with you and facilitating some of your more strategic planning sessions. So if you have any questions, again, I'm here. I believe Ms. Ramos isn't on the phone. I'm happy to take any questions for her and relay them back to her.
I was reading on how it's like 7 phone calls for us, like for each council member.
So it'll
I'm going
be
to call each council member. So there's
Like
7
one
of us.
time?
Yes.
right. And she can
Just
work
seems
with
like
you
a
on
lot of money
timing.
for that. I was,
Well, so the process, in addition to the interviews, is a transcription of the interviews themselves so that you all can actually see what you all talked about with her. You take those transcribed notes that she gives you, and then you work through those to basically figure out what goals, opportunities, and those kinds of things are. So the transcription itself does take some time. I don't know if you've ever tried to transcribe somebody talking through, but I mean, it's a process. And I think what she does is a higher level of kind of, I don't want to call them notes because it is transcription, but she doesn't do it word for word the way that, say, somebody who's doing verbatim minutes would do, but it does take time. She wants to make sure that she captures exactly what you're saying and not that she's paraphrasing anything or trying to extrapolate what your feelings are from a summary. You know what I mean? So that's where the transcription comes into play, but that's pretty time consuming. So that's part of what you're getting.
yeah, I guess I was just more envisioning everybody more working together than just something like that.
Well, we will eventually. This just happens first.
So the interviews are the first phase. So you call that data collection, right?
Yeah.
She's getting information from all of you. She takes all that information and puts it in together in a package so that when you get together with your workshop, which is going to be a multi-hour kind of event where you all get together and you work through basically everything you talked with her about. That's going to be the get together event. That's going to be the event where you all get to talk with each other, to talk through her, to have her facilitate the session through you, but it won't be an hour. It'll be more than that. Fair warning. It'll be a few hours.
I don't know. I guess I just had second thoughts on it when I was reading it. So I don't know what everybody else thinks. I mean, I always up to learning, definitely, but when I seen the price and stuff, I'm thinking, I don't know. I mean, is it something that we could do a YouTube or something? You know, I'm sure they have classes on or something. I don't know. I don't know what everybody else thinks. I just kind of started having a second guess about it.
I will say you can't really scale facilitation. It's not something that we could have like some company just come in and do, and that's
Right.
what they do. There are companies that do that, but I think for the purposes of what you're trying to do, you're looking at more of a specialized a person who's done it with elected officials and really government bodies. Bureaucracies are a little bit different than private companies or than other organizations. And so to have that edge, it would be very helpful, especially when working with decision makers, understanding how they make decisions and what they make decisions about is really important. But I think if you were to go with somebody who just did general like meeting facilitation, you wouldn't get as much bang for your buck.
I was just thinking, I wonder if we just did stuff on our own.
Oh,
I mean, you know, like us together as council, maybe start going to different, you know, maybe a Brighton council or just kind of researching a little bit or something like that. I don't know. I mean, that's just my thoughts. I was just. You know, kind of putting
Absolutely
that.
go to other towns,
Yeah.
board and council meetings. That's a really good thing to do too.
We just had Fort Lupton's mayor at one of ours at the end of last
Yeah.
year. Yeah. Well, and going, I mean, there's so many other organizational opportunities where other leaders get together. So, you know, the municipal league, there's other organizations where you have opportunities to commingle with other people who are doing what you're doing, but not where you're doing it, you know, who are going through some of the same issues you are. Maybe they have a different flavor of how they're dealing with it. I mean, it's a really good, you know, opportunity in some of these sessions to get ideas from other communities, but also get to know some of those community
Maybe
members
it's
as
just I
well.
came in late here, you know, with the council and stuff. And what I feel like everybody does pretty good, actually communicating. I'm around a lot of people a lot of time, but I feel like everybody does pretty well. But I mean, like, I haven't been to something like this. So, you know, I'm not saying that.
And
That's
in
just
the-
kind of my opinion.
In the past, typically around budget time, one of the other things that we do, which we will discuss with Mrs. Ramos as well, we would have a facilitator come in and the council would get together and talk about what are our plans and what are our thoughts and goals for the future of the town. And they would help us pull things together that way. That's something else on top of all of this, just getting communication, but she'll
think
work
that's
with
a
us
great
on
idea.
that
Right.
too. We didn't have the facilitator this last year. I don't think we had it for the last 2 years.
We had a very brief version of one the year before with COVID.
Yep,
Yeah.
right before COVID hit, we had somebody from DOLA come out and do a vision,
Okay.
like a visioning session. But you know, visioning is just a part of what I think the
Right.
bigger facilitation piece is.
I'm like that. I do.
So I mean, she does that too as part of this.
Okay.
But even if we do this, wholeheartedly agree, go to other towns' meetings and hear how they do things and how they facilitate their meetings. That's always good to do.
Yeah.
So. Any other questions or comments?
Madam Mayor, if I could,
Yeah,
the one thing I would add is timing. As you are embarking on the process for hiring a new town manager, this may also help in terms of the team building to assist you in figuring out who your best candidates are. And so from a timing perspective, I think this is probably an ideal time.
that is a good point.
I still think it's a good idea to move forward with the process.
I definitely feel that our council needs it, so I'm totally for it.
Well, then I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2208, a resolution approving a services agreement with Service J. Ramos Associates LLC for facilitator services.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Was that for or against? Sarah?
It was, I couldn't get my mute off fast enough.
Okay. Motion carries. Resolution 2209, a resolution approving service agreement with HR Advantage for Human Resources Services.
So as you know, we have a few positions open. I could start with that, but this actually is a services agreement for an HR company. We didn't come to you with a kind of proposal because we do have sort of an emergency need with the amount of staff that we need to get in. I did interview a few different HR companies. The reason why HR Advantage is in front of you tonight is they specifically have quite a bit of experience hiring police. Police are a very different, they have very different hiring processes and different benefits and whatnot. So to have that kind of leg up while we're trying to get fully staffed is going to be extremely helpful. They are what you would call a full service HR firm. They will be basically fulfilling the role that council provided in the separation of the clerk and the HR/finance position. They'll be fulfilling the HR portion of the HR/finance position. So this is a role that's already been budgeted by council, but we are filling it temporarily with HR Advantage to try and help us fulfill our needs ASAP.
but they will continue basically as our contract HR person.
Absolutely, or
Okay.
persons, but we
Right.
do have Leon and Michelle are on online tonight. If you have any questions, they have, of course, they have municipal experience, which was the kind of one of the number one criteria of who I wanted to talk to and who would be available. And then also kind of what their skills and their focus are when it comes to who they help, which was a lot of government clients, which was good for us. So, but if anybody has any questions, they are on the line. I am here as well if you have any questions. And this will be for 6 months. And the term of the agreement is for 6 months, but it can be re-upped as we see needed and as they see fit. So.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? If not, then I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2209, a resolution approving the services agreement with HR Advantage for Human Resources Services.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, resolution 2210, a resolution approving a use by special review for an accessory dwelling located at 453 Birch.
All right, I'm going to put my planner hat on. I told you I'd be switching hats every once in a while, but so tonight before you is a resolution potentially approving a use by special review for an accessory dwelling unit located at 453 Birch. This is actually this unit will be an existing detached accessory structure. The specific standards for ADUs, that's the acronym for accessory dwelling unit, sorry. I did put my planner hat on, so now I'm going to start speaking in a lot of acronyms. The specific requirements for that have to do with things like setbacks, minimum square footage or floor area. The unit needs to be smaller than the primary residence. Accessory dwelling unit is specifically that. It's accessory to the main dwelling unit. So it will also be fed by the utilities that are fed through the main dwelling unit. So these are all very specific requirements that an ADU has to comply with, or that can be demonstrated that it can comply with in order for a use, which is the use by special review before you tonight, before that use can be approved. There are also compatibility and other qualifying measures that are part of the use by special review process. Those are outlined in the resolution tonight as well. I can tell you in summary, the requirements, specifically the development standards requirements do appear they can be met. The applicant has demonstrated that the unit can meet the floor area requirements, the setback requirements, and essentially all of the requirements for an ADU. Anytime an ADU gets before the council or before the planning commission, it always comes with a conditional sort of recommendation. And that condition is that the ADU, if it's approved as a use, is required to go through building permitting processes. So that would bring that particular unit, up to speed with our current building codes, regardless of what else is going on the property. So you can think of it as any new use has to comply with any new code or any current code. That's how this particular ADU would be implemented. I do want to mention, so the Planning Commission did hear this case at their January 12th meeting last Wednesday. They did recommend conditional approval with the condition that I mentioned about the building permit requirement. However, I did want to also mention there was quite a bit of public comment at the meeting, and we did receive one additional public comment tonight. I've passed that out to the council members that are here, and I will, of course, read that for the record. I wanted to mention, so when staff presented the ADU to the Planning Commission, the public comment there regarded confrontations with residents at the property, as well as concerns for fire danger. We had a written response that I read for the record that should be connected to your request for council action. Sorry, I was going to pop out another acronym, RCA, that is attached to your RCA so that you have that as part of the record as well. That came in minutes before we walked into the planning commission meeting. So I read it before the record then too, but it's part of your packet. The one that is not part of your packet that I just received minutes before walking in here, I will read for the record at this time. So the anonymous source, who is a Birch Street resident, said, I am asking that the council deny the addition to the named property. I have witnessed the female arguing with the tenants who have lived there both in the garage and in the trailers they've allowed to stay in the back of the home. The female is mentally unstable and seems to like confrontation with anyone and everyone. When there has been confrontation, she becomes very combative. Mentioned in the meeting held on the 12th of January was the fire that had endangered the neighbor's garage. Well, it had nothing to do with the electrical that is on the property. These people burn fires continuously on their property. The fire got out of hand and almost caught the neighbor's garage on fire, endangering the elderly woman who resides in the home. Yes, it does have a stench for the entire neighborhood and those in the direction in which the wind blows. A couple lived in the garage up until a week prior to the January 12th meeting. My main concern is that someone will move in the residence and be harmed, whether it be by her hands or a fire that got out of hand. Thank you, a concerned Beach Street resident. All right. So that completes the public comment that we've received to date and summarized from the Planning Commission meeting as well. The Planning Commission did have concerns and discussion about this condition requirement that this ADU be required to comply with current building codes. We went through the process of, what kind of permit do they need to get? What kind of requirements would that permit require them to construct? And what would be the end product? How would a person be able to live in that ADU once it was done? And a quick summary of that process for council's edification: they would be required to apply for a building permit. In that building permit would be engineered plans that show compliance with today's building codes. It would require them to comply with whatever the bedroom requirements were at the time, ingress and egress for windows and doors, the standard requirements for bathrooms and inhabited living spaces, the standard numbers of closets required, those kinds of things would be required for a building permit. They would submit that building permit to our plans reviewers, who are certified plans reviewers. We also have certified inspectors. So once the plans go through review, the construction starts. Once the construction starts, the inspections start. So the inspectors get involved in that point. The permit is essentially a plan for work. The inspectors double check to make sure that the plans are actually worked on site, and that's what's constructed. So to the end of it, there's all these inspections that happen all the way from electrical inspections, sheetrock, plumbing inspections. Their final inspection is called the final building inspection, and they will not get a certificate of occupancy that would allow for them to live in the ADU until they get through all of that process that I just described. So that's the end of it. And if you approve the use tonight, that's the process through which they would have to go through to get somebody officially and legally residing in that ADU.
I thought this one was already in place.
So the structure and the shell, we'll say that, is in place.
It looks like it's an attachment off of the garage.
Exactly. And at some point in time, and I didn't want to steal the applicant's thunder, but at some point in time, somebody had done some construction to the area. I don't know if their intention was to create some office or some otherwise storage space, but a bathroom was added, some plumbing was connected to the main house, and the applicant would be remedying essentially that situation by getting permits and bringing it up to code.
And can you remind me of our ADU?
I put myself a cheat sheet at the end of the packet.
Good. Because I thought I remembered you can't use them for renting out. It was for.
So I think the requirement that you're looking at is the owner occupation requirement. So it's not that they can't be rented out. The owner will always have to reside on the property, whether it be in the ADU or in the main residence itself. But the owner will always, so you can't have an absentee landlord renting out both the main residence and the ADU in theory.
Because I could have sworn we went through this whole thing because of.
I think it's because there's already water attached to it, right? Because before we talked, I don't know, that might be something planning commission that came with planning.
Daniel, Sarah, do you guys remember more, or do you have any more to say on this?
Yeah, you might want to double check that, Jennifer, if you haven't, because I'm pretty sure you put something in there about that specifically. And that
I think so.
I think that was last year.
I think the reason we did it was specifically for
I think somebody else was asking for the same.
Airbnb type of thing,
yeah.
VRBO. We didn't want it to be, it could be for like a granny unit. So
Yeah.
somebody else could stay in it that's related or need it, but not to be rented out.
We didn't, and I went back through the code and I created a handout that we've got online. So that's the cheat sheet that I'm talking about. But specifically, it's the owner occupancy of the primary residence or the ADU is required. It didn't necessarily specify in the ordinance. Now that doesn't, I want to preface by saying that doesn't mean we can't revisit this conversation. But it doesn't specifically say in the ordinance that it can't be rented. It says that the owner has to occupy the property always. And we require them to submit to us a certified or a notarized letter saying, accounting that they're going to do that. So essentially, if things don't work out the way that they're required to, we have code enforcement options as a result.
And I believe it came up because the other party that was trying to get it didn't have water already in the building they were trying to set it up in. And if I'm remembering correctly, and I think that's part of it too, because we didn't want them to attach off of, there was more to it than just them renting it.
And we did pass an ADU. Y'all looked at an ADU also on Birch Street, not too terribly, like right after you passed the initial regulations. And that was essentially for a daughter's unit. And
Right.
the owner lives on the property and they signed the same kind of, notarized letter that said, I'm always going to reside on the property. But I think they may have a family member residing in the ADU now.
If that's what we passed, that's what we passed.
Yeah.
I did have a couple of questions, Jennifer, if you could oblige me. The first one is there a time limit they have to complete the required inspections on the permit?
So once they get the permit active, the permit has 6 months basically to be finished. And if they're still under construction, we do allow for extensions of that for them to be able to finish the project. And that doesn't mean like, just kind of shovel some dirt around or anything. They actually have to be working towards getting an inspection. So there's an option for it to be extended for up to a year. So 6 months to a year is the timeline. And that's assuming everything is moving the way that normal construction processes move.
Okay, and then the second question I had is, and I'm kind of unfamiliar with the process. Is there, when we issue those certificates of occupancy, is there a max occupancy limit that comes with that or no?
For residential, it's pretty set in terms of the number of bedrooms and how many people could actually occupy that space is really set by building codes and how many bedrooms they have and whatnot.
So essentially it's already in the code then.
Yeah, it's a residential occupancy, just like there would be a commercial occupancy, just like there would be, but residential occupancy, it's essentially means you can live in it, but you can't run a business out of it. And you can't, there's other things you can't do in it.
Okay. Thank you.
I mean, we do also have definitions of dwelling units and families. Those are a little bit trickier to understand how they apply to these situations, but for code enforcement purposes, we do have those as well.
Do you have anything to add, Corey?
I do not.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions?
Is this intended to be a rental?
We can ask that, the applicant.
Okay.
Kenneth, are you on? I thought I saw your name. Yes, you are. There he is.
Yeah, I'm here. I didn't want to interrupt.
No. Council has a question for you. They asked if you had intended to rent this out.
That was the intention, yes. When we bought the house in 2020, part of the selling point from the former owner was that there was an apartment on the property that could be rented out to help offset the mortgage. So which is why, big reason why we bought the house was that opportunity there. Unfortunately, at the time we were told it was permitted, we found out later that it wasn't. So we're just trying to get all the paperwork in place so we can have this done properly the way it's supposed to be.
Any other questions? No? Then I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve or a resolution conditionally approving a use by special review for an accessory dwelling unit located at 453 Birch Street, with the caveat that the building permit process is followed.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Three G, Resolution 2211, a resolution approving a site plan and replat of Love's Travel Stop and Country Store at 201 East Bison Highway. Case numbers 2106 and 2107.
Right. So this sounds pretty complicated for what it actually really is. Love's is doing a little bump out, and I say a little bump out, we're talking about several hundred square feet in the front of their convenience building, their store building, for a little extra floor area. In order to do that, they're going to be running into a public fire hydrant. And so they're having to move the public fire hydrant, but because it's in a public easement, they have to replat the easement. So for this relatively minor, but what will be a very nice building addition, they're having to do a couple processes to get the documentation and everything in order. The building permit or whatnot will come after the site plan and replat, but they need to get the easement in the right place in order to bump the building out so they're not basically on top of our easement. And the hydrant, they have to relocate for fire suppression requirements. So that's all part of the process as well. That's really a very simplistic way of looking at the application. I can't really make it more complicated than that though, because it really is, it's just very simple requests. So not that I want to make it more complicated for you all, but I am here for any questions. The applicant and their team is online as well. I believe Love's does have a team representing them from an engineering and architectural perspective.
Does anybody have any questions?
Nope.
If not, then I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion.
I make a motion. Oh, go ahead.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2211, a resolution approving the site plan and replat of Love's Travel Stop and Country Store at 201 East Bison Highway. Case number 2106 and 2107.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 3H, Resolution 2212, a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding with Colorado Department of Revenue concerning sales tax data.
If this looks familiar, you just did this mid last year for Charity, who was your named person on this. I'm just going to put my name in for a little while until we get another town manager. So we're legit with the state. But this is essentially a housekeeping item.
Does anybody have any questions? Then I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve resolution 22-12, a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding with the Colorado Department of Revenue concerning sales tax data.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Staff reports. Jen.
So we had a really good turnout. So I'm going to be Jen, the planner, for a second. We had a really good turnout at our Beach Street meeting. you talk about parking or anything that can get people's blood pressure up and they will come out, which was both, it was really good thing because I think the input that we got and the direction that we got was essential to next steps forward. That being said, we're looking to hire a bunch of people. So I'm trying to get that information to you either in the next couple of council meetings. I want to take it back to Planning Commission. I need to send it out to referral. I've already started talking to some agencies about some of the options that people picked. So there's a process to it, but it'll get back in front of you. But I did want to tell you, if you heard about it, it was a pretty good turnout. And we're looking, I think, hopefully to open back up on Monday. This was a kind of let's just say this was a closure to try and keep anything from happening because we thought something could happen in terms of a spread event. So we feel like we've done a good job. We'll be able to open back up on Monday. I'm not going to look at Scott yet because I don't want to see what his face is telling me about opening on Monday. But as much as I know we're going to be doing that, he's smiling, so we're good. And that's all I have, I think, right now.
Any questions for Jen?
I have one. You brought up how the Fort Lupton mayor was here not long ago. Before Charity left, we got essentially survey of dates that we could possibly meet with them. Has anything come of that? Okay.
So I think that if I remember correctly, the purpose of this meeting was to discuss planning, right? So right before I got in my accident, I had set up a meeting with the planner and the city manager over at Fort Lupton to discuss with them. I had to postpone that, but that is actually back on for next week, if I remember correctly. So we'll start that conversation again, but that's a big deal, and it's
perfect.
Trying to get it back online, right?
Thank you.
Yes, no problem.
Good point.
Didn't forget about it. It's totally in my memo, in my agenda.
I just didn't want it to fall through the cracks. I made it. There was a big transition within that week.
Big, huge. Yeah. There's quite a few other things on my radar from a regional planning perspective, but that's number one right now because they're also asking for it. So thank you.
Any other questions for Jen? Corey?
I don't think I have anything this evening. I'm just thrilled to see all the things that you are approving to move forward.
I second that.
Does anybody have any questions for Corey? Nope. Heather?
I don't have anything.
And Jen, you don't have anything additional as planner?
Oh, I would have taken that opportunity. No, I don't.
Okay. Scott?
From the police department side, like Jen said, we did have a small staffing issue this week due to COVID protocols for our officers. However, that staffing level didn't have a negative impact on the service level for the town residents. And then secondly, this morning, we had a Hudson police officer assisting a sister agency on a traffic accident that occurred out on County Road 49. During that accident investigation, several chain reaction accidents occurred. And during that chain reaction, our police vehicle was struck. Our officer wasn't hurt, but our vehicle is probably totaled. So besides COVID and a damaged police car, your police department's doing well. Thank you.
Hang on. Does anybody have any questions for Scott? All right. Thanks. Lee?
Not a lot going on.
I think he's being facetious.
No.
We had a power outage this weekend, and I'm still trying to fix some of the things that it caused throughout the wastewater plant, the West Lift Station, the RO. That kind of wreaked havoc on us for a while. We had a water break. At the time we had the water break, it was just Marcus and I. Blake was on vacation and Rich was sick, so we hired a company to come in to fix the water break. We're still having issues with the wastewater plant. We're getting that resolved a little piece at a time. And as of not Tuesday, but the Tuesday before, the pump house was turned on and it is still running today.
You shouldn't have said anything. Hi. Yeah, really.
So far it's working pretty good.
Cool.
Yeah, you could definitely feel the water pressure.
You got more water pressure?
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely
Good.
tell.
Good.
Definitely tell. Does anybody have any questions for Lee?
Oh, I'm still working on your little compressor at the pond.
Oh, thank you.
I think when that's really going to come into play is this spring and summer again, when the fish need it for aeration or whatever you're doing with it there.
Right. We're planning on adding a second pump by then, so we'll have more aeration going on in the pond.
Cool.
Has the situation changed at all? Just wondering.
The what?
The hiring?
Oh, nothing's really going yet.
But we just brought on HR, so the magic will start soon. That's my hope.
Gotcha. Okay.
Anything else? Thanks, Lee.
Thank you.
Maria, do you have anything?
I do. I would like to officially inform you that I'm resigning as Mayor Pro Tem and council member of the town of Hudson on Wednesday, January 19th. On June 17th, 2015, I was appointed as trustee for the town of Hudson. I serve my community honorably and faithfully with only the best intentions, and I have watched this town grow and change for the better for the residents. I'm proud to have served and be a part of this history. I have this, I will be sending out a letter. So just to let you know, I plan to continue to serve as a volunteer on the Rec and Events Committee. Guys, for everything.
Well, we'll be sorry to see you go.
Yes, for sure.
Daniel,
Nothing for me.
Sarah,
I got nothing.
Candace,
Nothing.
Lisa? No. Any idea on tablets?
Yes, actually, I've started conversations with the fellow who did our invoicing over at Microsoft I have to do a wire transfer. They want you to give like your firstborn when you write a check. So we've started getting the paperwork done on that process. Hopefully we'll get them before your next meeting. Hopefully you'll be able to download the packet before your next meeting. So that's the hope, but it's in the works.
I don't have anything else. So with that, citizens' comments, anybody who wishes to address the council on anything that was brought up on tonight's meeting and they didn't get a chance to address it may do so at this time. There's no one on, other than us. So let the record show that there's nobody in the council chambers or online other than the council members. And with that, meeting is adjourned at 6:58. Thank you, everybody.
Good night,
Thank
all.
you.